Hey, November 12th, Saturday. It's a rainy day here. Ben, thanks for coming in short notice. But my guest today, he's a really good dude. He lived with me for combine training. Okay, his last name is super cool. His jersey's on the wall. Bituli, how are you? Thanks for coming in.
Man, I'm good, brother.
Appreciate you having me.
me.
I love that he's in here. We're getting it done. Hey, the mic sounds perfect.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, it's on now. Thanks for whatever you did, our producers. Shout out to Ben. All right, I asked this with all the athletes, all the type A personalities that come through the Woodgym.
Yeah.
When did you know that you were different? Because this boy played at UT, played in the pros, linebacker, awesome dude. He has to know.
Yeah, I'd say my first camp that I went to, I was physically more gifted than a lot of young guys my age.
How old were you?
5th grade.
See, it's crazy. I love these stories. Okay, fifth grade.
Yeah, so during the park time, I'd race with all my friends. We played football back there, but I never played organized. And my PE teacher her name was Miss Naw. She ended up bringing me to a football camp, Bellevue Steelers football camp, and man, that sparked everything. Being able to compete with all those young guys across the city and everything, it was such a great experience, and that's pretty much what sparked it. And yeah, here I am today. So
5th grade. I mean, because you're a big dude. He's a real prototype linebacker. 6'2", 6'3", 245, 250. How big were you in 5th grade? Were you the size bigger, or were you faster?
Yeah. I was fast. I was about 140 in 5th grade, but around that time I played O-line and D-line only because
Really?
they had the weight limit. AAA that 135 weight limit, man. I hated it, but it helped me get used to the trenches, you could say, and just get after the ball and everything. So yeah, it was awesome, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so you were from the Nashville area, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. In high school, where'd you go?
High school, I went to Nashville Christian.
Nashville Christian.
Really
Okay.
small high school, yeah.
Okay, I always ask this question because I think in the NFL, people that get drafted each year, correct me on this stat, it may change year to year, but I think the ball players that get drafted or play in the NFL, I think it was 87% played one or more sports in high school. Were you that guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I try to preach to what I do is I have the parents, and you know this, Bean, we'll chop it up more with your business, but in the winter, if they're off and they're like, hey, should we dive into a lot of training or play another sport? And I always say play another sport. And I actually love and respect you for that because you're not wanting the money. You want the athlete to be the best they can be.
Exactly.
Not saying they stop with you, but instead of 4 days, come 2 days and play your sport. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
So what do you think the benefit, what was your second sport or third sport?
Honestly, football was my second sport, man.
Even Dobbs, who you played with, a teammate, baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
You got recruited for baseball. Harrison, soccer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly, yeah. Man, I was huge on basketball.
Really?
Huge on basketball. And then my freshman year, I started as a tight end, obviously from my high school. And boy, I did not have any hands, none at all. By the end of the year, my stats ended up being -2 yards because the only catch that I caught was a flare and got tackled in the backfield. So after that, I remember my boys, they were clowning me. Oh, bro, you got -2 yards, this, and that. And I was like, you know what? Okay, just watch. That next year, they ended up moving me to running back, hence the bad hands. And hey, that's when I broke out and started receiving my scholarships and everything. So
okay, so you ended up at University of Tennessee. What were your top 3 schools?
Top 3 schools: Auburn. Definitely Auburn. It's great. Vanderbilt, obviously them being in Nashville.
Backyard, right?
Yeah, Nashville and Ole Miss.
Really?
Yeah, Ole Miss, yeah. It was awesome, man.
Was it close with any other schools, or what was the deciding factor, University of Tennessee?
So I wanted my parents to come.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew that I would have a life after football, and being able to utilize those relationships that I built with the university and it being close to my hometown, I thought that was really important, and it's not that far of a ride. Auburn I'd say was the closest school beside Tennessee because, man, I loved Will Muschamp, man. I remember him and I, first time I went up there, him and I were just talking ball.
And he was a coach where?
He was the defensive coordinator for Auburn.
Got it, okay.
Him and I went up there. We literally talked ball the whole trip, man. The whole trip. There are recruits eating, all these things. And no, we're talking ball. And I went up there twice, man. And each time I went up there, that's all we did. And I was just fascinated with the game, man, just how much he knew. And so he was definitely in second place.
And what year did you come to the University of Tennessee?
2016. Yeah.
2016. Okay.
Yep.
And then we got together for Combine. That's how we got our relationship,
yep.
right?
2019, yeah.
Yep.
But I heard about you multiple times from like guys in the locker room and all that stuff. So it was just a matter of
getting and then he came live with me, and he's an awesome dude, and went on to play pro. And
fun times.
And now we got him. I would really want to chop it up. I mean, it's he's a 1A athlete and looks good and moves well, all that jazz, but the pivot part that we all talk about when football's over is where I find a lot of the athletes struggle. And this cat's not struggling at all. He came up with this business concept, and really that's why I wanted you on the show. I wanted to launch that for you so it could get on the air and the viewers and listeners and our audience could hear about it. So talk to me about when you first sought me out. I think it was, when did you first come to me? It was talking about it.
It was earlier this year, not exactly like March.
Was it March?
Yeah. I was working on it for like 4 months at the time.
Okay.
And, ideas, like just thinking of things, redefining things. And I remember vividly, I came to you and you gave me that list of things that you wanted me to answer.
Oh, that's right. In here, we were in here for 2 or 3 hours.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
So we went over that, and man, that helped tremendously, Charlie.
Right.
Like,
good.
It was huge. So basically, what I'm doing for the viewers that are watching.
Yep.
In order to really understand what I'm doing.
Yeah, describe this business. Okay, we got our producer, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, like, look at Ben.
Yeah.
All right, so take him as, super smart guy, understands production, knows nothing about this concept of what you're trying to do in the sport industry. So if you had to explain it, I think it's good that Ben's here doing this, is how would you explain it to him?
Yeah.
Try to come closer to the mic like this.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Nice, right?
So the platform that I'm working on is a football specific online platform that teaches young athletes the basic fundamentals of their position, and it stresses the importance of situational awareness.
And how he came up with this, let me intervene with this, because this is perfect. I could probably explain this to him, and actually when we do meet with some of the guys I'm lining you up, I would I didn't know if you wanted me at the lunch or dinners or whatever, but I'd be more than happy to help you with that. Is when you come up, Ben, as an entrepreneur like he's pursuing, it's because there's a need out there that has to be there, not a get-rich-quick scheme. That's where I think a lot of people go wrong when they're like, I want to invent this and make a lot of money, or I want to come up with this idea and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
When I did my thing in 91, 92, it was a need. I was like, I think this is a need. So he came up with a need that even he thought he needed coming from high school to making the transition to college football that wasn't there. Like, trainers are there, Charlie Patrons are there, everybody gets faster, everybody gets stronger, but now the school of the game, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this all really started out by the end of my junior year. After my junior year, I was a 2-year starter at this point.
Where? In college?
Okay. College, Tennessee.
But didn't you say when you went from high school to college, you couldn't grasp, couldn't understand? That's how you came up with this, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
What couldn't you grasp?
Just the fundamentals, it's
film,
just being able to understand situational awareness when things present themselves, being able to react, know what you're looking at. I was always, when I got to Tennessee, I was one of the top 3 guys squatting. I was squatting 600 pounds by my sophomore year of high school. So being competing with these guys physically was never the problem. But I noticed as soon as I got in that film room and actually touched the field and trying to process everything that was going on, man, I struggled tremendously. And it wasn't until my junior year, man, after my junior year, where I had a quality control coach. His name was Kevin Simon. This man
I trained Kevin.
Linebacker. Kevin. Linebacker. My guy. He took me under his wing,
California,
man.
Right?
Yep. Kevin Simon. Yeah, he
great
was a
guy.
dog.
Hey, Charlie, how are you, buddy? What's going on, man?
He's still in Knoxville as well.
Yeah,
dog, man. And he took me under his wing, and I remember he approached me because he saw how down I was after I saw my draft stock and everything. He was like, Bituli, your problem isn't working harder, man. Your problem is working hard in a certain area. And he's like, you don't need to get stronger and faster. You need to train your mind to understand something you should have understood at 10 years old. So that following spring, man, him and I were meticulous about all the little things. Post snap, am I stepping in the right direction? Am I reading the guards? Where are my eyes before the play? All these things. We're not even looking at the plays. If I make a big play, we don't even care about that because he's like, when all these misdirections and all these things that these colleges are doing nowadays, because these offenses are complex. You see the Kansas City Chiefs, you see these amazing offenses in the league, all this spread that's going on right now in the tempo that's really confusing all these young guys. All these things that I struggled with as well as a senior, going into a senior in college. And once I understood that, man, I knew how to break film down. I knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened, and it just opened. It just changed everything. My appreciation for football just shot out the roof after that point.
So when you were finished with your professional career, how did you? Were you just laying on the couch and had an aha moment, or watching football, or I think you pivoted over to working with some athletes?
Yeah. I pivoted over to working with some athletes, and as I was training these young linebackers that I was working with, I would show them drills, like some LB drills. And after each one of my LB drills, I would ask them, hey, when are you going to apply this specific drill or technique in an actual game? And not one of the athletes that I would ask that question knew how to answer that question. And I'm like, man, and I know you and I have spoken about this, but I'm like, look, what's the point of being strong if you're hitting the wrong person, or being fast if you're going in the wrong direction? And all these things were just going through my mind as I was working with these kids. And I had he was my first client. I'm not going to disclose his name, but a kid messaged me on Instagram, and he was transferring from Tennessee Tech to a college out in Virginia. Never played linebacker before, ever. And he shared some concerns with me with the position change and everything. And he's like, man, I need to get caught up. And I told him, hey, your problem isn't your physical ability. Your coaches are going to provide that for you when you get to college. What I want to train you for is the process of elimination, being able to understand what's going to happen before it happens. So I got all my game film from Tennessee, and him and I would literally just watch film on a Zoom call. And by doing so, when he got to college, man, he was balling, and I got multiple calls from him, all these things. It was a great experience, man.
So it was a need. So it's kind of cool. So like Bituli was saying, is Chaz, you can make them bigger, stronger, faster, but if they don't know the game, it doesn't matter. So how did you start coming up with this concept? Because, you could easily just coach a one-on-one client and just teach them, you could go over the board or whatever. But what made you, did you realize you had a business mind for that, or just it was in you and it just, awoke and was like, wow, I want to figure out how to put this on a computer and make a business model out of it? When did you get to that point? Because you could easily just coach these cats. You know what I'm saying? You could easily just kept doing that. Just like I do. I show up, I train a client, get paid. You could do that. I show up, take a guy through some board work, and get paid and leave, whatever. How did you come up with the? Is it a computer? Is it? How did you come up with your match? Yeah, so
I started DMing all the top linebackers in the country, and I would text them a question, something as simple as, "Hey, what is a 4-eye? What is a 3 technique? What would you do in this situation?" And then when I would get their answers, when I would get their replies back, I'd obviously get the wrong answer, and I'm like, okay, let me create a 10-question quiz that I can actually get these young athletes, these high school athletes going into college, and some work actually college guys. Let me send them these 10 questions and see what they score on it.
Got it.
Man, the highest score I got, believe it or not, was a 3 out of 10. So I'm sitting there
and these are good athletes.
And these are I went on ESPN Top 300. All the top linebackers in the 2020 and 21 class, I DM'd them all. 3 out of 10 was the highest score I got, man.
Wow.
3.
Wow.
It blew my mind.
Okay, so you saw need. Did you?
Exactly.
Is it an app?
Yeah. So it's going to be.
Take me through that.
It's going to be an app and web-based platform.
Okay.
So to kind of explain that, I kind of have to explain like the process building up to that.
Got it.
As I was doing these one-on-ones with my clients, I had some parents share with me that they couldn't afford my rate, so I was charging my clients like $50 a session. Well, 1 hour a week isn't enough to mentally train these young athletes.
Right.
And I knew that as well. And I'm like, man, I have parents paying me $200 a month, essentially, because I'm meeting with them four times a month, like each week. I'm like, but I could definitely be utilizing this time with them more. And after I heard that, I'm like, man, I want every athlete to be able to get the best knowledge in the world. I want every athlete to be able to be on a platform and learn the best and learn situational awareness. So that's where I was just like, man, what if there was a platform that could teach these young guys these things? Teach these young guys these things where I don't have to be present, but they can learn being able to understand the level of a running back, the importance of reading a guard, the importance of a quarterback's eyes, all these things that these great linebackers are looking at pre-snap.
And these are linebackers like you coming out of high school. They're highly talented guys that don't know the skull.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that don't know the skull. And I know I've been speaking about linebackers, but
it's every position.
Yeah, every position. Yeah.
Okay.
Every position.
All right, keep me going.
Yes.
See that flow.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, I find it crazy, man, because when I talk to young guys and they ask me about my experience in college and the NFL, they're like, man, like, what did that look like? Like, how was it? How was the experience? Y'all in the facility all day. I'm like, dude, y'all really don't understand how much film these guys are watching. Charlie, we're in the building from 6 in the morning. Some guys 5 in the morning, all the way to 6. That was my schedule in Carolina. I'd get there at 7. You're not leaving it until 5:30, 6 o'clock. And you only practice for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
So what are you doing?
All those other hours, you are literally watching film.
So that makes sense of what I always hear, Ben, and I'll fill you in on this, is, you ask the Harrison Smiths, the Chad Penningtons, the Wilkersons, the Fournets, the T. Higgins, you ask all the guys who come through here, that guy was so good in college, why couldn't he make it?
Film.
And he said NFL playbooks are like this and film, and if you can't grasp it and understand it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Man, these coordinators study an individual player so meticulously, man. It is insane. And just from a defensive standpoint, can you imagine having a fault? Let's say, for instance, you're a stiff defender. If you're a linebacker, you're stiff in the hips.
What do you mean stiff defender?
Like, for instance, you struggle with pass coverage, being able to play man-on-man on a guy. So imagine imagine an offensive coordinator like understanding this. He's going to put you in situations where you're going to have to be in an open field and make tackles, be in an open field and play press coverage. All these things. Find a way to rotate a slot receiver all the way, apex him to your side as a linebacker, and you're going to have to walk out there and kind of play him at a 5-yard distance. All these things that play into being a good player. And if you don't understand how to utilize your strengths based off the film that you're watching, man, you're dead.
So when you're watching, like, let's say the UT Mizzou game today at noon, when you're watching that, you're looking at 2 linebackers. Of course, you got to know everybody on the field, all the defense. I get it. But since you played professional linebacker, you're looking at linebacker. Can you tell right off the bat, hey, they're watching a lot of film?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You can tell their first steps.
That's what I was going to say. We got Ben here. Okay. Yeah. So he's nothing about football, nothing about sports. Okay. We're going to assume that. If he watched the game, what's the one thing he could watch and take away from this podcast that you could teach him with your intellectual property? What can he look at and go, wow, I just learned that from Bituli. That guy's got it locked in. Or, he's misassignment. He didn't read it right.
You know what? That is a great question. I would say today, if y'all going to watch the game, I would pay attention to the running backs today. Being able to see a little, see a lot. So I'll explain. Kevin Simon taught me this. See a little, see a lot. So basically what he's telling me is, hey, these guards that are in front of you, you can see them through your peripherals, but you're beaming that triangle run. It's beaming to the running back as well. As a linebacker, I know and understand the depth of a running back is everything when it comes to a run play. So what you're going to see with Missouri today, I love watching film.
Okay.
If you go and watch this college game that's coming up, if you go and watch this Missouri game, you will see that the running back in the shotgun formation, when he is standing beside the quarterback, but he's slightly deeper than a quarterback, he's gonna run downhill.
What do you mean running downhill for Ben, audience, viewers, listeners? Explain that.
So that basically these offenses, when they run the ball, they want the running backs running with momentum.
Okay.
Right? So whatever that path you take, you want that running back running with momentum. So if I'm standing side by side with a quarterback
in shotgun,
in a shotgun formation,
and we know what shotgun is.
Yeah. If I'm standing right beside a quarterback or slightly in front of him, where's the only direction I can run with the quarterback with the ball that carries momentum? It's a perimeter run. If I am deeper than the quarterback and I'm trying to get the ball from the quarterback, if I try to run sideways, I'm obviously going to run into the quarterback. The only place that can take me is directly downhill. So I, as a linebacker, know when a running back is deeper in a shotgun formation, it's not going to be a perimeter run. Everything is going to be between the B to A gap, the A gap to B gap. So all these young linebackers.
What's an A gap and B gap?
Oh, so an A gap is both gaps beside the center. A B
guards?
Gap. Yeah, the guards. Yeah, the B gaps are the outside shoulders of the guards. Yeah.
And that's where. So okay. Wow. Are you going to watch that today? That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So all these things, man, it's huge. And obviously you see all these offensive plays nowadays. Everyone is running spread. You'll constantly see motions. All those motions that you see, man, they're trying to miss. A lot of that has to do with trying to understand the coverages that are happening with the defense. But they're also doing that to mess with linebackers' eyes. All these young guys that are playing, they start to see, think way too much. So when this receiver is jetting in front of the quarterback, they want these young linebackers or safeties to stare at that jet. And then they're running the ball the opposite way. But I try to tell my young guys, hey, don't pay attention to all these shifts and motions. Stay key to your the guards to running backs. And I promise you it will take you to the play.
Okay, so I got a question. I know Ben probably has the same question. So you're looking at UT. I didn't watch, you know me, I'm always working, not watching much sports. But I think the Alabama-UT game had some people, everybody wanted to watch it. So I'm like, all right, I'll sit and check it out. And, you know, I could identify talent. I could, you know, number 33 and 24 and 9 for defense. Or I don't know their names, but ballers. You could tell that they could.
Ballers.
Right. I mean, and how does UT, their offense is so fast, right? So how are they catching everybody off guard where everybody's so wide open? If I'm just this normal fan that doesn't understand the gaps that you and I see, take me through what you just said. Like, I think they get confused or not huddle, fast pace. And how are these guys so wide open and it just keeps mounting and throwing? How are they throwing over 500 yards? Where's the defense coordinator coming in going, hey, we have to stop that? Because, you know, against the UT Alabama game, I didn't know if they ever figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it all has to do with the splits.
Okay.
As you can see with when you watch these UT games, the receivers and tight ends are split so far away from the actual box. And the box, by box, I mean the quarterback, running back, and all the offensive linemen. So there is about 20 to 25 yards, 20 to 25 yards of space for these receivers and halfbacks to be able to work with, essentially, and run all these routes. Now, the thing with that is that puts these safeties in a bind, these safeties and corners in a bind, because, man, trying to cover a guy with that much space, that's hard, man. That is difficult. And now you have an individual like Jalen Hyatt who thrives in space. Like, if you don't get a hand on him, man, he's gone. He's gone because he's faster than everybody else. By doing that, Tennessee sees as well the less guys that are in the box that I spoke about earlier with quarterback, running back, and the offensive lineman. It makes it so much easier for the quarterbacks for the running backs to run the ball. The more guys that are inserted in the box, that means it makes it easier for Hendon to be able to locate the safety splits, the depths of the cornerbacks, the slot cornerbacks, all these things. And that's why this offense is so good, because one, it puts Hendon, the quarterback. It puts him in a great position to be able to see, hey, which side are the safeties rotating down, and that's why the reason why Georgia was so successful against us, which was, man, look, I'm a huge Tennessee fan. Obviously, I played ball at Tennessee, but I appreciate good defenses, and they were successful because they took away what we were good at. Because of all the open space, we put DBs in positions where they have to make open field tackles. Georgia didn't miss a damn tackle, man.
I didn't see the game, but like a guy like you, could you go, okay, with your concept, with your business concept, take a look at that and go, you want these guys to know what, because the big boys understand that. The Harrisons that watch the film, they're like, they know. The Luke Kuechly you showed me, they know exactly where the play's going because they've seen that formation before, correct? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all these things, like with RPOs, run pass option, everyone is doing it in college nowadays.
Okay.
So it's essentially 2 plays and 1 play. So you see the run play. If everyone commits to the run, they're going to pass the ball out to the flares, to the receivers, and now it's one-on-one with the slot receiver and these safeties. So being able to put these guys in those situations. But if everyone is just sound to their responsibility for that play, it will take care of it. And after that point, when you're in that situation where you have to make a tackle, man, that's essentially what the coaches and everything have prepared you for. Just go make the play.
And you're saying that Georgia saw that and figured out the defense, just like a Bituli with your knowledge, nuts knowledge now with what you're doing. You're probably engulfed in this 24/7. Okay, this is how we have to defend that. And wouldn't you say that? I know Pennington called that when he was in the NFL with the Dolphins, and they started doing the Wildcat, and then everybody started doing it. He's like, it's a copycat league. Everybody catches the RPO thing of the run and the pass. Is everybody doing that? And will that fade out also if everybody starts to catch on to how to defend it? Because you say Georgia defended it. Alabama couldn't figure it out, obviously, right?
Well, that is a complicated. I don't think people can do what Georgia did. You know, Georgia has such talent on that defense.
Okay,
man, they were playing man on man. It is hard to play man on man against our receivers on our team,
and they did that.
Okay, all these other teams they can't do that. So they have to bracket these guys, and basically what I mean bracket is there's a corner, there's a slot corner, a nickelback, and a safety. All 3 of those guys are sharing 2 receivers. Georgia said, no, it's man on man, and there's help support with the safety. And they did a phenomenal job doing that, and that's why they were successful. A lot of other teams can't do that. So honestly, I'm kind of glad, and I'm glad as well that we got beat so we could see that. Because we are going to see them again in the playoffs, probably the first round. So it's a man-on-man game.
School is in session. You know, like it's nice because you could. This is what we're talking about. Yeah. This is what you want the kids. I don't know. Where do like high school kids pick this stuff up, or how does it go now? Now that we know the knowledge, man, the professor's in the house right now. Mr. Football himself is honestly, it's good stuff. I like it. I wish the rest of the crew was in here to understand that, because when I was watching UT, I'm like, okay, what's going on? How is Alabama not adjusting to this at halftime?
Yeah. See, you can know what an offense is doing, but at the end of the day, look,
if you can't do it,
you got to stop them.
Perfect. So that's what you were saying. It's like Georgia had big balls and said, let's go. We're going mano a mano, cover.
Mano a mano,
right?
Exactly.
And get what you said with the Hyde kid, right?
Yeah.
Get hands on him, it throws them off.
Exactly.
If you don't get hands on 4-3 world-class speed, you're done.
Exactly.
Okay.
And on top of that, their defensive line was relentless. It's very hard for a quarterback to be patient in the pocket when these guys are breaking the pocket. They were just relentless, getting to Hendon and everything, and they did a really good job of really getting in his face and making those hard passes.
So did they have to rely – I didn't see the game, but did they have to rely on the run? Or was the run taken out too? Or basically what I'm saying, did Georgia come like Bituli would come with your knowledge and go, okay, I know how to – I play this because I have the right Jimmies against the right Joes, right?
So, Georgia – and I tell these guys all this – I tell young guys this all the time. Our offense, man, I've actually clocked it. We get plays off in 13 seconds. If you want to stop a tempo team like Tennessee, you have to stop them on first down. If you put Tennessee in a situation where it's a 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13 situation, you're now putting the pressure on the quarterback to have to read offenses. If an offense goes out there and gets a 6-yard gain, it makes it 7-4. That's when the tempo continues. Georgia did a phenomenal job because on first downs, there was no gain or loss of yardage. So now you're putting pressure on the quarterback to have to read. And all these things, him trying to read the defense, it's slowing Tennessee down. And Georgia did a phenomenal job doing that, and that's why they were successful.
Interesting. This is what I wanted. This is more what I want. I wanted people, our audience or viewers, to understand what knowledge you're bringing to football, and then, okay, here's my business model. But I want them to get to know who Bituli is, not as the athlete, but as the professor. Yeah. Because, I mean, you're explaining, people are going to hear this all over and understand what you're doing. Because I was watching the Alabama game, and I was like, how are they not slowing this down? Why couldn't they slow it down?
Yeah. Zone. Heupel does a great job of being able to run certain route trees that conflict with an offensive zone. For instance, I talked about bracket earlier. Well, in bracket situations,
what's bracket for the viewers out there?
Bracket is where the safety, the nickel, defensive back, and the cornerback are all sharing the slot receiver and the Z receiver. So it's 3 against 2. Most of the times in bracket situations, the inside defensive back, cornerback, has an inside split on the slot receiver to cut off that slant route. The cornerback has an outside split. He's shaded outside of the Z receiver. And the safety is obviously over the top. Well, Heupel does a great job of running routes where, hey, if I know this route's going to be gone, right? If I know, hey, if I run an inside route with this slot receiver, it's going to create a bubble for that outside receiver to run an inside route as well. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now by doing that, he's running 2 inside plays. That's where we see the double slants. A slant is a three-step in route, and all these things that Heupel is doing that's creating these things for Tennessee. What people don't see as well, man, Charlie, is if you watch Tennessee play, only one side of the offense is running the play.
Explain that.
So let's talk about an offensive formation. We talked about earlier a 2-by-2 split. A 2-by-2 split.
Okay.
The right side, the slot receiver and the Z receivers, they're running their route as hard as possible. While the left side of the play, because, hey, remember I talked about RPO, run pass option. The left side, these guys, they're just casually cruising. If everyone was straining to run a route, they'd be too tired to run tempo. So while one half of the side is running super fast and straining themselves, the other side is they're just cruising. When you watch the game, pay attention to it. And then what happens next? Like I talked about earlier, tempo, 2nd and 4, what happens next? They then shift the running back on the other side of the quarterback and then make the left side run super hard and strain them. It's a back-to-back thing. But now what Georgia did phenomenal was, hey, if we take that away, that 1st and 2nd down where they can't run tempo, both sides now have to play because the quarterback has to read. It's hard to run deep routes, deep passes when you're only passing it to 2 guys. You have to have all 4 guys playing.
So he was reading one half of the defense.
Exactly.
Right?
Watch it today. I promise you, you'll take some.
No, this is really how I wanted to formulate this podcast, to audition you of your skills and knowledge. Mm-hmm. And that, this is the business. You're the business. So we're talking about your business now. I want you to know that. We are you're showing your talents on the mindset of why you came up with your business. So people could understand that.
Exactly. Yeah. Situational awareness. It's phenomenal, man. Like as a linebacker as well.
So when you're watching with all the plethora of knowledge you have, when you're watching the game, you're going, okay, he's going right there.
He's going right there.
I see he's going right there.
Yeah, he's going right there.
Watch him throw the ball right there.
Exactly. One of my probably my best game. I know everybody knows about the Georgia Tech game where I had 23 tackles, but personally, my best game ever was against South Carolina when I only had 15.
Only?
Dude,
yeah.
Charlie, I knew every single play that they ran off of two guys, really. The guard that I was reading and the last place the quarterback looked at. I knew every single play based off of his stance. What you'll notice with these quarterbacks in college, they don't do this in the league because they know how to mess with these young guys' eyes, these safeties' eyes. These quarterbacks, before they snap the ball, they always look to the last place. So if a quarterback can throw to the right side, the last place he looks at before he snaps the ball is to the right side.
You're going to watch that today,
or vice versa.
Yeah.
Or some quarterbacks' tendencies is they look multiple times. They may not look as long, but they look like 3 times. But the left side, they look like once.
So you know it's going.
So I know it's going to that side. And that is the situational awareness that I tell these young guys to look at,
That's what you're teaching.
Exactly. And now, by you knowing this, you now get to communicate this with your teammates. Because, man, there's only a certain amount of route trees that these guys can run. So based off the down and distance, I know right now if it's a third and 12 situation, the quarterback has to take an 8-step, 7-step drop. Well, the receivers have to match the quarterback's drops. So obviously their routes are going to be deeper. 1st and 10 situation, the quarterback snapping the ball, getting rid of it super fast. So now I know as a defender, I need to match that quicker. If a quarterback is taking a 1-step drop to pass the ball, why would I be dropping back 5 yards? It's pointless. No, I'm going to get my eyes on the quarterback and react quickly and snap on the ball just like that. All these things that play into situational awareness, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, so so a 1st and 10 to a 3rd and 4, you already know where it's going.
Exactly.
Just from, as you would say, pulling it all the way back to all the film stuff.
Film study, exactly, yeah. There's only a certain amount of route trees. And each guy, you'll know this, every single person has their strengths and weaknesses.
So against the Georgia Tech game, let's go back to fluffing you up, big man. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's pretty impressive. I honestly didn't know you knew the game like that because I was the combine guy.
Yeah.
40s, jumps, vertical, whatever.
Yeah.
But in your Georgia Tech game, 23 tackles. Okay, so when you lined up and you read your offense, did you basically know exactly where the ball was going?
No, man, that game, I didn't know anything, Charlie. I just ran to the ball. I wasn't even supposed to start that game.
So, okay, really?
Yeah, I ended up, because Darren Kirkland got hurt.
Okay. What year were you?
That was my sophomore year.
Really?
So I wasn't even supposed to start. Man.
Okay, so you're just on the sidelines, just chilling, played special teams, a little whatever, right?
Yes. Thursday came. Yes, obviously we play on Saturdays.
Right.
Thursday came and DC ended up telling me, "Hey, Bituli, you're going to start." Man, I was like, okay, you messed up. If you give me this starting spot,
that's what all athletes say.
I'm not giving it away.
Yep.
And that's.
And you showcase your talent. And you showcase what you knew between the years.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. So I got went at that ball, man.
So okay, so if you said you didn't know what you were doing, what did you follow? What was the number one thing you were following? The ball, the quarterback, the running back, the guards. What was the one thing that kept you at 23? You had 23 tackles. You had to be doing something right.
So with the veer, I was the edge linebacker on that. So I was looking at the tight end to the running back to the puller that might be coming my way. All those little things. And a veer isn't the same. Reading a veer isn't the same as reading a shotgun formation. So that game was kind of different. Most of my tackles that game came from me just running to the ball, man.
Just following the ball.
I ran like. If a dude has a 10-yard gain, I'm coming to get you. I'm like, I'm not giving up this starting spot. And that was my mindset. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I like that. All right. So I think we covered some stuff. I wanted to just get you in here to really just, I'm glad we got to talk because I just wanted to talk about where you were with this business because it was one thing to go, I'm really glad we did this today because I wanted to understand the knowledge that you had. I wanted people to hear what you were putting out there, what you know about the game, which obviously is a hell of a lot about the game. So it would be nice to sit with him in a game and just, you could probably that's what you're trying to give to the kids, because if you're this smart with the football knowledge and you didn't have this in high school, imagine what your business model could do for those kids.
I agree, man. I believe that the way we teach these young aspiring athletes growing up should be the same way we teach. We use the educational system in schools. So in middle school, these young athletes should be learning a certain amount of things like guards, et cetera, et cetera. High school, hey, define it, crystallize it more and more and more. Then in college, do it more. So that way, by being able to understand these things, like for these young guys that are going to be on the platform, hey, by the time you get to college, I don't want coaches to have to worry about or being stressed about, does this kid know the basic fundamentals of his position? I want these coaches to be comfortable to understand, hey, this guy knows his stuff. All we have to do at this point is teach him plays and help him understand the philosophy of our team motto. All these things. So we're taking out a huge component of what coaches talk about every single year. Basic fundamentals. Charlie, there are 90% of parents are coaching these young athletes, especially in youth leagues like middle school. 90. How much of those parents do you think are actually qualified to be coaching these young athletes these things? And by the time they get to high school and college, they struggle immensely because of it. And I want to be able to, with my platform, I want to be able to take away that burden from parents to feel like, for feeling stressed that they have to teach these young guys this thing. And I also want to take away that burden from coaches for them to feel like, man, I have to start all the way over with these young kids when they could just be ready for them by the time they get to college.
Man, that's... Like I said, when we put these earphones or the headphones on and go to work, you just learn. I mean, because you lived with me.
Yeah, man.
And I just remember you doing a couple things at the kitchen counter with the board with T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And you were going over defense.
Yeah.
I'm like, shouldn't we be eating? What are we doing here? And he's like, T's like,
Chaz
what's he doing
well.
here? I just want to eat, drink my shake that I like so much. And yeah, and you were at that point a skull. You know, at that point, the mental prep. I love it, man. I mean, like I said, I support it, and I feel like this was the biggest thing. One of the biggest things I could do to get this platform off. I'm not going to talk about his business anymore because that's his model and that's his baby. But I wanted him to talk about his knowledge of football and then what people are missing out there. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, if people listen to this, I hope we'll launch it Monday. So by the next week, they could be watching UT football and going, okay, I get a little more.
Yeah,
you know what I
man.
mean? Because, I mean, you were giving it. Yeah, and you could probably, I don't want, he could tell me but not tell me, but I got a defensive scheme to stop him if I had to, right? Like that's what you want to look at and go, you could stop this, but you're basically saying you can't stop it if you don't have the talent like the University of Georgia.
Exactly. Like the thing with the platform is I don't want to conflict with coaches. I want coaches, if coaches are watching this, I want them to understand, like, I in no way want to be in conflict with coaches. And the majority of the platforms that are on the internet.
Well, the coaches are going to be on there.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Hey, come on this platform and be the coach. You understand? You'll get a little bit more of that, but it's basically a platform where the coaches are on there. And like, say, Miss Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Smith want Timmy to hire this coach to help with the mental. They could do that, right? That's giving them a little snippet.
Yeah. Essentially, so the as far as the coaching goes, I want coaches to be able to send their young athletes, let's say high school players, on the platform to be able to see all these little things of situational awareness.
Right.
Because, man, in high school, you don't have enough time to be able to sit down and teach 50, 60 of these young guys all these little things, man. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. You're already trying to show these young guys plays. The whole point of this platform is to teach them something that situational awareness.
I was just going to that. I was just so you know, I was just going to that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know Ben, and I always go to Ben because he's my man. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about at the beginning with situational awareness until we got into the depths of the conversation of understanding that.
Exactly.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming out here on Saturday,
I appreciate you, my guy.
And you know me, I'll do whatever I can. And I just tell you one thing with patience with this, because it's going to be it's going to be bigger than what you probably think, and probably what you want it to be right now is not what the good Lord wants it to be right now, until that timing comes and goes boom, 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 because it's a need. It's a huge need. I mean, when you came to me with this and we said that, it's like, okay, now how do we get that? But it's a need that's out there. Yeah. And I appreciate it, man. I love you, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Man, thank you.
Everybody, man. Daniel Bituli, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Thanks.